The greatest men in history all lived by a code. All the men we admire, from Cary Grant to Marcus Aurelius, had principles guiding them, standards they followed, and lines they did not cross. And I think every gentleman needs the same, a clear set of standards to tell him not only how to dress, but how to live. Most men today go through life aimlessly. A lot of men out there drift through life without ever deciding what kind of man they want to become, and they end up living by impulse, which hurts them in the long run. So in this video, I want to talk about why every gentleman needs a code, and I have 5 rules every man should live by. Don't wait for the world to test you to figure out who you are. Hi everyone, I'm Nick, and if you're new here, I talk about a wide variety of topics on the art of dressing and living well. If that sounds interesting, hit subscribe. Also, follow me on Instagram. I post there regularly and I have a ton of fun content planned. So what exactly is a code? I want to use a famous man who had one as an example to explain why it's so important. And that is Marcus Aurelius. He was the Roman emperor and one of the most powerful men in the world, but what makes him interesting is not simply that he had power, it's that he constantly reminded himself how to use it. In his private writings, which became meditations, he returned again and again to ideas like self-control, duty, humility, patience, and restraint. If you haven't yet read this book, I definitely recommend it. In other words, he had standards. He had principles that governed how he wanted to behave, especially when life became difficult. And that's what a code is. A code is a clear set of standards that tells a man how to live and carry himself in a chaotic world. Without a code, every difficult moment becomes a negotiation, and then you start making decisions based on mood or ego. And over time, those decisions shape your character. I think a lot of men lack that today. And Scott Galloway, whether you like him or not, also speaks to the importance of men having a code to live by.
I think every young person needs a code on how to navigate thousands of decisions you have to make. You can get that code from religion, you can get it from your family, you can get it from your work. And I think a lot of young men are lacking a certain code. And I think masculinity in an aspirational format can serve as that code.
I talk a lot about style on this channel, and that can be a part of your code, but it isn't the entire thing, because I'm sure we've all met people who can dress well, but are completely unreliable. A code affects every aspect of life, not just style. So with that in mind, what should actually be in a gentleman's code? Of course, every man's code will look slightly different depending on his values, his faith, his responsibilities, etc. But I do think there are certain standards that every gentleman should live by. So these are 5 rules I believe belong in every gentleman's code. The first rule of a gentleman's code is to keep your word. No matter who you are or where you come from, a gentleman's word is one of the clearest measures of his character. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you agree to be somewhere, show up. If you make a commitment, honor it. And if you owe someone money, pay it. There's nothing worse than a man who mooches off others. This sounds basic, but in a world where people cancel casually and disappear when things become uncomfortable, reliability has become rare. But you can also use this as an opportunity to stand out. A gentleman understands that every time you give your word, it will quietly build or damage your reputation. I think George Washington is a great example here because his reputation was built on duty, restraint, and honor. He's a man who gave up power when he could have held on to it, which shows that his words and his principles mattered more than his personal ambition. People will always know whether your actions match your words, and this one is the foundation of any gentleman's code. The second rule is to control yourself. A man who cannot govern himself cannot be trusted with anything serious. Even if you have good intentions, if you cannot control your emotions or impulses, that lack of self-control will damage everything around you. This is one of the reasons why Marcus Aurelius is such a powerful example. As I said, he was one of the most powerful men in the world, but in Meditations, you do not see a man obsessed with power. You see a man constantly reminding himself to be rational and humble. I think this is also why people have a renewed interest in Stoicism. The world is so chaotic at the moment, and being able to control oneself in terms of how we respond to it is crucial. And that is something that every gentleman should understand. Self-control is not about becoming cold or emotionless. It's about having enough command over yourself that your emotions do not rule you and you maintain composure. I think it's also about having the discipline to do hard things and to do those hard things quietly. The worst is when someone is constantly bragging about their success. It's just not a good look. That's why self-control is one of the quietest forms of masculine strength. It's impossible to control everything around you, but you should be working every day to control yourself. Rule number 3, respect the occasion. Dressing well is one of the greatest forms of respect for yourself and for those around you. As a gentleman, you need to understand that different occasions call for different standards. For example, a wedding is not the same as running errands. and a dinner is not the same as going to the gym. Some moments deserve more effort. Cary Grant is someone who understood this well. And what made his style so enduring is not that it was loud or complicated. It was the opposite, actually. His elegance come from restraint and knowing what was appropriate for the occasion. And that's the big lesson here. When a man shows up carelessly, he's still communicating something. He's saying, whether he means to or not, that the occasion did not deserve much effort. But when a man shows up properly, when he's groomed and he's dressed appropriately, he brings dignity to the moment. And that's certainly a part of a gentleman's code. The fourth rule is to treat people well. Whenever I meet people, I like to think that my goal is to leave them better off than how I found them. This is about having good manners and treating others with respect because that says a lot about your character as a man. This isn't treating people well to impress them or because you need their help. It's how you treat everyone. Waiters, strangers, family, the elderly, and especially people who may never be able to do anything for you. Fred Rogers, also known as Mr. Rogers, was the host of the long-running children's show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and he's a beautiful example of this. His entire presence was built around kindness, dignity, and making people feel seen. And his real strength was his gentleness and his care for others. That's something every gentleman should keep in mind. You can dress well and appear refined, but if people feel smaller after being around you, something is wrong. A gentleman should leave people with more dignity, not less. The final rule every gentleman should live by is to serve something greater than himself. There isn't anything more honorable in this world than to serve others. We can do as much self-improvement as we want, but at some point, a man has to ask himself, what am I actually contributing to the world? A well-functioning society depends on men who understand duty. Men who build families, keep their word, protect institutions, serve communities, honor tradition, and think beyond their own comfort. There's an ancient Greek proverb that says, "A society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in." And I think that captures the spirit of this rule perfectly. Unfortunately, a lot of people today are selfish and they don't really think about how their actions will impact greater society. And because of that, our societies are declining rapidly. But when men step up and serve something greater, societies flourish. And that's why this rule should be a part of every gentleman's code. So the question becomes, how do you actually build your own code? I'm going to assume you're starting from scratch and you want to build a code that's unique to you. So start by asking yourself a few honest questions from across these 5 categories. The first one is appearance. So ask yourself, how do I present myself? The second is speech. Ask yourself, how do I use my words? Number 3 is discipline. So ask yourself, how do I govern myself? The fourth one is relationships. Ask yourself, how do I treat people? And finally, number 5 is purpose. And ask yourself, what am I serving beyond myself? From there, write down a few principles that you can actually live by. Not vague ideas like be better or work harder, but clear standards like the ones that I've showed you in this video. Start with a list of 5 and go from there. Also, there are many other areas of life where you can actually get a code to live by, like with religion, cultural communities, serving in the military, or even playing a sport. Those can help you develop one too. So decide what you stand for and what kind of man you want to become. Another good thing to do is to read about people and philosophers from history. That can help. I did also make a related video on signet rings and the meaning behind them and how that's like developing a code for your family. If you want to check it out, I'll link it below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe for more on the art of dressing and living well. And let me know in the comments below, what's one rule from your personal code? Thanks for watching.